So it's a very special day for Minis and Motorbikes today. We are delighted to be sitting in front of the company of a Le Mans winner, a Formula One driver, an IndyCar driver, a World Sports Car driver, a British Touring Car driver, and I'm having to look at my notes to remember all of this, and not forgetting a pretty handy motocross driver from what we've heard.
There's something interesting about that actually that will probably come up later on when you talk about it, about driving styles and everything else. Because I got told off once about something I did and I heard something you'd said and it answered everything about grip and stuff, and you know. Anyway, yeah, what are your memories of Ellsworth? Because we know somebody quite close there.
Ellsworth, massive memories of Ellsworth because it was my local track.
Yeah.
So, in fact, a gentleman called Andy Lee, who owned Ellsworth at the time, was a very sort of infamous guy in the local area for Speedway, and obviously his son as well, Michael Lee, but Andy more than anything actually motocross, or scrambling as it was called back then.
Schoolboy scrambling.
We sort of lived in the village. We knew Kurt Nickel and Dave Nickel, you see, so that's where,
so I used to race against Aaron Nickel.
Oh, we did, Aaron,
so me and Aaron was big contemporaries, and then obviously I watched Kurt go on, and then he went on to other things. I think he's now in the States actually, he's there. So I mean, go back long years of those boys, and I think they had a younger brother as well.
Robert. He wasn't quite as good, but Aaron turned out to be a better mechanic. I think he was.
Hopefully, Robert's not watching.
Oh yeah, sorry, Robert.
Never mind, Robert.
He was a good golfer though.
Because I was talking to a friend of mine, and I doubt you'll ever remember his name, but his name was Warren Child. And I think you used to do, later on, you put, like, there was some trophies, because he was a lot younger. And he was racing sort of motocross.
I think he was probably cadet class or something.
Something like that,
Yeah, when I was seniors or expert or something.
Yeah, no, when he mentioned it, he was like, we used to do that. And I think he said that your dad, Danny, used to provide the trophies that were given out or something, or did some funding or something like that.
I think back then in those days, sort of the fathers would all do a weekend of like buying the trophies for the event. So that makes some sense, Yeah. Didn't his dad used to have the post office in Melbourne?
He might well have done. Now, if when he watches this and he hears you say that, he's going to
be... he picks me up on a lot of stuff when I'm doing in the workshop, so whoa.
I might be wrong anyway, so
Yeah, so you said you didn't race against Kurt, but you raced against Aaron Nickel.
Yeah, so I raced against Aaron Nickel. And back then it was names of Mark Banks, whose father was John Banks, Bickers. So lots of guys, people then that have also come into the sport actually in different ways. Irish guy called Alan Morrison. He did touring cars.
Yeah, I know Alan because I used to run with Harlow. Steve Warby used to set his car.
So there's been a lot of crossover points. Even to the point where he goes full circle, and then I was doing what I was doing at bigger levels and bumping into a guy called Ricky Johnson, who was massive in Supercross in America, and met him in the Honda showroom in Tokyo. So so that 2 to 4 wheels and transition the other way has always been a big thing.
Yeah. So you don't think I don't personally think karting's a be and end all. I think it learns you probably track craft. Would you agree with that?
Listen, I never did it, so I never felt that I missed out. But at the same time, I know a lot of youngsters who do it. Cannot be anything but advantageous. But at the same time, I'm still a big believer if you can ride a bike, you can ride a bike. If you can drive a car, you drive a car.
So what benefits would you say that motocross gave you?
Competitiveness, just pure, like you say, handlebar to handlebar or elbow to elbow or fist to chin, because 9 times out of 10 it was that close that would happen. If you fell over in turn 1 and you got a foot peg through your back and they all run over you, that was really what I learned from that. It was a competitive spirit. So you also learnt a lot in terms of the conditions. So for me, I always said it was a benefit for when I was racing in the wet, because I would look at things in a different way to a lot of the drivers. And motocross taught me that, because every time you turn up at a corner, it's changed.
What about throttle use?
Yeah, throttle control, same thing. And again, the way that I sort of rode a bike or drive a car is probably in a minority compared to the majority. So they're all different ways of getting about it, but they all get to the same lap time ultimately.
2 wheels to 4 wheels, how did that happen? Because that's quite a big leap really, aren't
So on the basis of my dad was a second-hand car trader.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I've always been surrounded by cars. That's where the passion for cars came from. 8 years old, sitting on a cushion, looking over the steering wheel. I think 8.5, writing cars off because I've got a piece of freshly laid tarmac stuck on the bottom of the foot. Yeah, so it slipped off the throttle pedal.
Slipped off the brake onto
slipped off the brake pedal onto the throttle pedal and then rammed into another 2 cars. So all on private land, so it wasn't a big thing. But no, that basically came from the situation of schoolboy motocross was like because I lived in a rural area, so that was like the thing that everyone did.
Yeah.
And then car racing was completely out of the bandwidth of the family, had nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Didn't have any understanding of what you even did to enter it.
I know that.
We went to a racing car show, which I think was, even back then, I think it was like Ali Pali or something. I don't even think it wasn't Birmingham or anything.
Yeah, no.
And met a guy called Mark Blundell,
Yeah.
who was then like sales director at Lola Cars, which is at Huntingdon.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And we said to him, "Oh, we think we need to do Formula 3." And he looked at us and said, "Like, you're mad. That doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
You have to start in what we call Formula Ford 1600."
Yeah.
And that's basically where we entered into Formula Ford.
Yeah.
Probably
What make of car was it you ran?
in a Lola.
Oh, it was a Lola.
Yeah, so
well,
because it was
still
local, we just
connections,
felt that would be great.
Yeah.
And actually, probably what we did was change the dynamics a little bit of the sport, because we were used to doing 4 races in a day at motocross.
Yeah.
And we couldn't work out why people just didn't spend like an extra 30 quid for an entry fee
Yeah.
and another 50 or 80 quid for some tyres
Yeah.
and a bit for fuel, and do the other 2 races what were on in Formula Ford.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10 you'd have Champion or Snetterton, you'd have a Dunlop Star tomorrow, an SO
and then
round.
you got the Brands Hatch.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So that's why we started doing more races in one day, and it kind of caught on and everybody started doing it.
Yeah. So what was the decision not to do Formula 3 and then just go straight into Formula 3000?
More than anything, budget led.
Because there was probably not a lot of difference in it, was there? Or?
No, I mean there's still quite a lot of difference, but it was one of those factors of like, if you didn't have enough budget to do Formula 3 possible, if you didn't have enough budget to do Formula 3 professionally at the right level with the right team, it was not really worthwhile doing.
No.
So we thought, well, we might as well go and do the next step and do F3000.
Yeah.
But we bought our own car, which was a year-old car.
Yeah.
We ran our own team.
Oh, you run your own team?
Yeah. So it was all cost-cutting, but experience building. So looking back, knowing what I know now, probably would have done things different. But at the time, that was what we did. So, yeah.
So you then competed in Formula 3000 and World Sports Cars, and you made a deal with Team Nissan and landed a factory seat. You became the youngest driver to achieve pole position at Le Mans 24 Hour with a 1.04 second margin. But is it right that the car wasn't really set up that well, or there was kind of it was a bit of a miracle lap, was it?
It was 6 seconds.
Yeah. So the margin was just over 6 seconds, which I think is still the biggest margin.
0.4. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what I said.
You did a huge disservice. Yeah, huge disservice.
Hell, I say.
So it's just over 6 seconds, and I think it is still the biggest margin for pole position, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, but they put the chicanes in there now, haven't they? What could it have been?
Oh yeah, what could it have been? I'll be honest with you, probably would have been me off the end of the Mulsanne straight, because I probably couldn't have stopped the thing. But the story is, and shortened version of it, is we went to Le Mans, myself and my teammate, primary drivers, Julian Bailey.
Oh yeah.
We had the option of, do you want to drive the qualifying car to try and get pole, or do you want to start the race? And that was decided over the toss of a coin. Yeah. I won the toss. I said, no, I want to try for qualifying. And the reason is because Nissan had brought basically a car just to do that lap. Yeah. What hurt us was all throughout the week of Le Mans, it wouldn't run properly. Yeah. And we basically got to the end of the process, and it was like the last time to qualify, twilight zone, good track, grip, freshness in the air, moisture, good for the engine. Yeah. Went out the pits, got told to abort the lap because the engine was still over boosting, which for the Japanese was a big thing because they didn't want to like lose face and have another issue. So I unplugged the radio because I'd had enough, and basically then carried on with the lap. Yeah. And the lap now sits there in the books because it was pole and it was by 6 seconds, and first Japanese manufacturer ever to be on pole position. Yeah. So I'm happy. And I was even happier because actually, even though Julian Bailey started the race, Murray Walker said it was me behind the wheel all the time on television. So so Julian wasn't very happy for stuff.
I bet. No, knowing what he's like.
Could have gone horribly wrong that manoeuvre. You could have gone bang and you'd have been zero, but you end up hero.
The chances you take, aren't they? You take your chances. Yeah. Frank Williams. What was it like meeting him for the first time and sitting in front of him? I've got a rough idea what that's like.
So I got introduced to Frank by a guy called John McDonald.
Yeah.
And John was running the Middlebridge F3000 team.
Yeah.
And John actually was a former team owner of the Ram F1 team. Yeah. John's a great guy, actually lives locally now, bizarrely. And John was the guy that actually walked me into Frank's office and said, this is the young guy that you need to put into your team to start doing your testing. And back in those days, there wasn't really a test driver role that was sort of there as a team member.
Yeah.
And we kind of sort of started that role off, and it was it was a contractual thing. I got paid to do it. It was massive for me because I was doing World Sports Car with Nissan, I was doing F3000, and I was doing F1 testing.
Were you married with kids then or not?
And I was a young guy with a family, had my first child, me and the missus, so I still hadn't made it, but I was trying to make it, and there was quite a lot of responsibilities, and probably people forget that with international sports people, that a lot of the time, most of the time, like, they're all on the journey, but they're on their own, so they're quite, they can be quite selfish. Whereas I sort of had a few other responsibilities to take care of. In a way, I'm really happy because it keeps you grounded.
It's probably only you and Mansell then that had family, I think, wasn't it, at that time?
You're
the only two out of all of those that were doing the circuit. That's a big ask. That is a big responsibility.
But Frank, you've got to rest his soul now, but was a really straight talker.
He tells you what he thinks, and he likes racing drivers as well. He likes this, And
Frank was, the guy that gave me the opportunity to get in the Formula 1 car, so I will be forever grateful for that. Patrick Head was also a massive supporter. Huge amount of time and respect for Patrick as well. So Williams is, for me, was right up there. They're not quite where they were.
No, it's a big shame, I think.
But underneath it all, it still sits there. The legacy's there, so that's good.
I mean, that was at the time with all the active suspension, wasn't it? And you obviously did a lot of work on getting that to work.
Probably, I'm not sure, but I'm confident. Probably done more miles in an active suspension car.
I think we can say
than any other driver. Down pit lane. Because I did all of the active work for Williams, and then I went on to do all of the stuff with McLaren.
Paddy Lowe as well. I bet he told you where he.
I did all the semi-automatic gearbox work, so I did a huge amount of mileage on Williams and McLaren.
And what's it like developing something like that? Because you must be going into a corner knowing your limits, and you've just got more to go, haven't you? Because the suspension's just...
active ride was actually quite, it was a little bit tricky. I mean, on several occasions it failed. And when you're sort of, if you say the last corner at the old Estoril where it was fifth gear flat coming onto the straight and it dumps on you.
Is that an oh my God?
Well, you don't even have time for oh my God.
It's just that,
and there's some other words that I would use.
Did they put a safety into that then? So if it ever did that, it recognised it was going to do it, and then it wouldn't. It was gone.
The systems were the systems, and we're talking back then, 89, 90. Having a fail-safe and a secondary and third backup system, no different to a semi-automatic gearbox. The first time when we were running them, it was run on pneumatic air. Literally little cylinders.
Yeah, because I think other teams were trying to make it mechanical, weren't they? But Williams are the first with pneumatic, I think, weren't they?
But there was no backup. So when it went wrong, it went wrong. And active ride suspension was pretty much the same thing. So it wasn't until as it got further down the line, but of course it got to the end of the road because the FIA banned it. So, and I think some of the reasoning behind that was it was going beyond the capabilities of the human driver. You literally would be, I'm flat, but my neck's hanging off now, and the car's doing more than what I can achieve.
So was it mainly when it just dropped out and hit the deck? It clipped the deck that it'd send it, like the back end of, and it'd send it off.
It would do some, I mean, we were doing things where you'd come off the corner and you'd hit a switch on the wheel. You'd lift the nose of the car up 10 mil. because as soon as you lifted it up 10 mil, you had a lot more free air, less drag, increased top speed.
Yeah, so on the straights you'd lift the front up.
But then you had to make sure that the nose was down before you got to turn 1, so the downforce was right, the car was settled. But of course, if it didn't work, and you went in, it's loads of problems. I mean, there's so many stories.
So it was the Williams engine then, the Renault engine then?
Although original stuff when I started, we had a Judd in the back, but then went to Renault with that relationship.
Yeah, because they were at Judd a few years before, weren't they, when they were trying to transition between turbos and normally aspirated, which was a shame really. They probably should have kept the turbo.
So it's, let's say, lots of things, lots of mileage accumulated, and you say, like, you know, I was working with Paddy in '89, and then obviously Paddy went on to massive things in Formula 1 pit lane. So.
And he told you where it was as well, didn't he? He didn't take any prisoners, did he?
Paddy was straightforward.
Nice man.
I think he
but
probably
you know who you are though, don't you?
I think he learned that off of Patrick Head actually, because
because he. Because I know I sort of come across is it Delarose and Neil Brown. Was Neil Brown there then? Was it Neil Brown, one of the engineers?
David Brown.
They spoke very highly of you. This for me was back in '94 with touring cars when the transition between the Renault 19 and the Laguna. That's where I sort of come across them.
So, you know, you never see it or read about it. And actually, I'm not even sure, or even back in my day, that it was done that often. But I went to Brabham in '91 off the back of the testing. And then got asked to go back to Williams in '91.
I know where you're going with this, because this is major.
To go and do some testing for them while I was still a Grand Prix driver for somebody else, which is unheard of.
You just don't, because you've got information that...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the guys at Williams were worried at the time, because Brabham really wasn't doing much.
But even so, it's still...
so that was nice to get that sort of, that, you know...
Yeah, that's basically what I can remember him saying to you. You know, and your information was... what you were giving back.
I was good at...
breaking it down into little
collecting all the information and then spitting it back out to the engineers and doing it over a course of laps. So that was good for those guys. But what wasn't good for me was Grand Prix at Imola in the Brabham, Tuesday rolling out, test day in the Williams, and on race tyres going 2.2 seconds faster than the Brabham on qualifying tyres. Then you think to yourself, I made a big mistake with my career moves, but because I could have stayed at Williams. I had the option to stay there and I didn't. I walked away. But there you go. It's the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah,
but there's bigger things you've got to consider first.
I don't know, I could have been world champion, but Damon took that, but there you go, He still owes me a drink, because I got him to drive at Williams, so there you go.
And a curry.
Or a Michelin star meal.
Yeah, you remained at Williams as a test driver, and I mean, I think I remember watching somewhere where you said that Senna stayed and watched testing and stuff, because you had a very similar driving style. And
so actually that's more relative to, I mean, two answers on that one. First and foremost, I went to Brabham because as a young guy, Grand Prix team offers you a contract, and I was a father and responsibilities, and I thought, that's my break, I'm going to take it. Hindsight, I should have stayed at Williams, because I could have possibly been the next world champion. I didn't, that's the decision I made, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. The other side of the coin, the year that I did at Brabham, then sort of reflected on it to say this is going nowhere. I had the opportunity that McLaren approached me to say, would you like to come to us and do all of our testing and be our reserve, because you're going to learn a huge amount more than what you will do with Brabham for another year. And that's the opportunity I then took. But what happened then, I remember doing the first test, and back then Senna used to sort of finish his season and then he would just disappear. Like literally would just go off. I mean, he'd go Brazil, Portugal, nobody would see him. He'd have real off time. But we did the first test early doors, and
that was with McLaren, wasn't it?
That was with McLaren, 92.
Yeah.
And Senna turned up at the Silverstone test mid-morning, unannounced, and it was basically a confirmation of your apprenticeship. So he listened in. He went on everything that was going on between me and the engineers. Had a little chat with me afterwards, and then basically like at 1 o'clock he was gone. And I even said to the engineer guy, I said, like, what was all that? He said, well, to be honest with you, there's a little bit of a first for us, but I think he's just come along to understand that he can rely on you, that you're going to do what the development requirements are, and he's going to relate to it. And it got to that point because we were doing so much testing. I mean, we had a full-blown test team. we would be developing stuff in the week, and then it would get made and get shipped out to the Grand Prix and fitted over the weekend.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd be testing 3 different floors.
Yeah.
This underbody, this, and if I said yes, and the watch said yes.
They'd bring it out in luggage on the plane and everything.
Exactly,
yeah.
off it went.
Yeah.
So it was like rubber stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice to get rubber stamped.
Although he did give you a bit of a hard time once, didn't he? Because did I see that where he stopped a driver taking you to an airport or something like that?
He did.
Was that just a bit of a...
No, because
is that just a bit of banter in the pits?
No, it's a bit of psychology is exactly that. So that was actually testing an active ride McLaren, and we were again at Imola, and basically my lap time had matched his lap time in the passive car, so identical in times, and he was a bit edgy with it. It was like, oh. So we'd pouring all through data in the debrief afterwards in the McLaren Marlboro bus, and a guy called Joseph Libero, who was a fitness and physio guy, always used to look after the drivers. Joseph was geared up to take me back to the airport because the test was continuing, and we basically got to the end of, you know, I've got to go now, and sort of said, Joseph, you ready? And Seneca lifted his head up in front of everybody and went like, no, he stays here. So like even the team manager there, Dave Ryan, was like, well, Mark's got to go. And like, no, he's staying here. And it was basically like, I'm the boss around here. Yeah, I don't care how you're getting to the airport. Yeah, you've done what you've done today, but find your own way.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, this day and age, you know, they're megastars, so they would have a helicopter probably to take them. But there you go. That's just psychology.
Big mind games. Yeah, Ligier.
Yeah.
That beautiful Ligier.
Yeah.
German Grand Prix. That's what did it for me. That's when I noticed you basically. You know, that battle with Berger. I mean, it's all in the history. Everyone says it.
But again, it's one of those transformations of done the year of testing with McLaren. Yeah. Obviously, shown my wares behind the wheel in lap time when we're at tests and matching guys and surpassing them. Yeah. And then Ligier came along and said, right, we want you to drive for us next year. Yeah. First ever English driver to ever be with French Ligier team. Caused a few hoo-has because if you look back over the years, most of the sponsorship was government French-backed companies. Yeah. So it caused a bit of uproar, to be honest.
I mean, were there any benefits to that, being an Englishman in a French team?
There was a benefit in that when you delivered what you needed to deliver, everyone was fully focused on you because it's like, right, he's talking and we need to understand him, so the focus is there. Yeah. Slightly got eroded quickly when my teammate Blundell turned up because he spoke French. Yeah, and he's a damn sight better than me at politics.
That bloody man.
Yeah, he's a smart individual.
We had a laugh on him one day anyway.
So Martin sort of was very good on that side of things, but you know it was nice for me because Williams were a big supporter and we had a Williams rear end in terms of gearbox, drivetrain.
So was the engine exactly the same, or did you have a little bit better because it was Renault and French?
No, I mean because really the factory association was with Williams, but we still had good engines from Renault, had good supply. I had good relationship with the guys from the Williams days, but the be all and end all of that car was that, you know, the gearbox, the rear suspension, that side of things was bolted on from the Williams. So so it was a good car. I mean, it wasn't a great car, but it was a good car, and you know, the team were good guys. I mean, we had some good results. A few little mishaps could have been, you know, but...
So the balance was good and everything, you could use it and do what you wanted with it?
It delivered me 2 podiums, so I'm happy with that. So got to stand up on the podium. There's one on the wall
we'll
coming
have a picture
up.
Of that.
I mean, Tyrrell was, you know, a great time to be there, just at the end of when Ken was around, sort of on a day-to-day basis. And Harvey Postlethwaite was there. Mike Gascoigne was there. So we had some good people. What we didn't have was resource budget.
That's always a problem.
And that was the issue. You know, to the point where it was actually quite detrimental. You know, I went off the road at Monza because the brakes exploded because they'd been skimmed twice. So there was basically no material left because we didn't have the budget to replace them. So all of these things that, if you said that in today's world of Formula One, they'd look at you like, oh, I don't know, it's stupid. But back when we were doing it, it was a lot of things like that happened, yeah, and like people didn't really understand it. It was like no different to me at Brabham. I mean, I sat at Brabham on 2 occasions waiting for my paycheck because it bounced. Yeah, you just don't, you wouldn't even relate that to modern day Formula One.
No.
So Tyrrell, yeah, it was a good time, but what saved me with Tyrrell was my relationship I had with Yamaha. Because I've been with them in Brabham and delivered them their first World Championship point. And fortunately for me, I delivered them their first podium as a manufacturer as well. So I think a jet ski and a motorbike is my bonus. So there you go. Yeah, no millions of dollars, a jet ski and a motorbike. But yeah, it's a good little car, aerodynamically quite efficient. But biggest issue for me was my teammate, because Ukio was a very small guy. And in those days of F1, there was no like balance of performance in terms of driver weight.
No.
So, even back then, although I was in good shape, I'm quite big boned and actually one of the heavier guys. And he was probably like 10 kilos lighter. So you look at a trace, I mean, he'd come off the corner and just do this, accelerate.
So you were doing 2 seconds a lap, quicker to do the same lap time.
I mean, you just couldn't do it.
Crazy.
Because it was never equalised.
No.
You talk to people and they go, hey. I was like, well, it is what it is. It's like, if I get him to carry another 15 gallons of fuel, then we're equal. So it is what it is. But there you go. It doesn't matter anymore. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, well, you kind of started to. I mean, you moved to McLaren after that, didn't you? Was racing with Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah.
But then you kind of lost faith a little bit, it seemed, with Formula One, because then you moved over to the States to race the IndyCar.
Yeah.
Alongside a friend of yours, Gugelmin.
Yeah, so Mo I'd known from F1 days. So I went, at the end of Tyrrell, it was very clear that there was no money there. So I wasn't going to be able to stay because I needed to bring a big commercial sponsor, which I couldn't do. I've never done that. I've always been fortunate enough to be paid to be a driver on merit. I think they then, when he got the finish, I think Salo came with Nokia or something, and McLaren came back at me to say, hey, like, if you're not going to be doing anything, come back to us. You can sit there in the reserve role again. So I'm like, okay, yeah, great. I'd rather be with you guys in a big outfit and sit around, As luck would have it, it worked in my favour because I ended up doing most of the season. It wasn't a great car, as we all know, but still, we did what we did. And I actually then got to the end of that season and I was due to go to Sauber. So I basically signed heads of agreement to go to Sauber. But in the interim period while we were doing that deal, they changed part ownership and Mateschitz of Red Bull bought into the team. And with his acquisition of equity, he had basically the slam dunk vote on the next driver in the open seat. And the only driver that was then to fit his criteria of winning a Grand Prix that was on the market was Johnny Herbert. So because I hadn't won a Grand Prix and Johnny had, they gave Johnny the seat. And that's when I got a bit disheartened with Formula One because it was like politics. So I went, you know what, I'm kind of done with this. I'd had a deal from Mercedes to take an engine because they were very happy with what I'd contributed from McLaren and Merck. And they said, if you want to do something in America, we'll give you an engine deal. And then you can go to a team and take this.
So was that the first year you went over there you had the deal, or the second year?
I had the deal when I went there, but because the contract with the team was still with Cosworth, we couldn't use it. So as soon as that had run out, then you saw the team switch to Mercedes power. So that's how it worked. And we did what we did there, but obviously the first year I went, it nearly killed me. So.
Well, yes, because you had that certain day in Rio, didn't you? Which we were only watching the footage a couple of nights ago, and it is it's a bit scary watching it.
Let alone say when it goes into slow motion, it does, doesn't it?
It's a bit scary being in it, I can tell you that. So there's many people have seen it now. But it was brake failure. So the brake hub exploded. It was a part that should actually not been on the car, had not been tested, it wasn't a certified Reynard part, it was a third-party engineering part.
Well, you very nearly took Gugelmin out, didn't you, on the corner?
Well, I tried to.
Probably been best to,
because if you look, there was no tyres or crash barriers or safety barrier back then, it was concrete. So, when the brakes failed, my instinct said that I need to hit something before I hit the concrete wall. and I tried to hit my teammate. I'm not sure what would have happened to Mo, but I wasn't thinking like that at the time. Self-preservation. I missed him, and in fact, if you see, and Mo will tell you, he said like when I went by the back of his car actually moved because I took all the air away from his rear wing, and struck the concrete. And yeah, that's still to this day the noise actually the biggest thing that stays with you. The actual sort of resonance of that impact.
But watching the footage though, when it all comes to a standstill, you get out. It looks like you do, obviously take the steering, and you're walking away and looking back at the car, and then suddenly kind of obviously realise you've broken your foot and your ankle, and is that just
No, so I mean, adrenaline is a powerful thing, yeah? So firstly, I never got knocked out, I was never unconscious. So I've always said that I should have been a heavyweight boxer because no one would have been able to deck me and knock me out. Yeah, because after going through that, I'm pretty sure that is the case. Which only means there's probably nothing upstairs. But there you go.
Well, the G-force in hitting the wall at
122 G. Yeah.
Stretched the seatbelts as well, I bet, didn't it?
Yeah, they were 5 inches longer than what they were manufactured. So, and it was actually 2 impacts. If you watch, it was like the first one and then the second one when it slaps. And the monocoque was compressed by 2 inches. So it was 2 inches narrower than what it was manufactured. But you know, it's a case of, we had the accident, and you're right, first thing I did was actually touch my legs because I couldn't feel them because they were numb from like the compression. Yeah, and instinctively you always just try and get out of the car. And I did until I realised that some stuff was broken and I collapsed. And that was the end of that. But even then, and if you spoke to anyone who was actually on the scene, they would tell you the first things that I said was, tell my teammate my brakes failed. So that the team could tell him over the radio. And if you look back, literally on the restart, 10 laps odd in, Maurizio's brakes failed. He was lucky because he managed to get it up to the wall on the back straight, and then he went all the way around the perimeter wall to slow him down. I was a little bit unlucky because mine hit on the breaking point. So, yeah, one of those things.
But once you're fixed, you're back in a car racing again, which
Well-
is always something that my mindset always struggles with that.
You did well at Toronto as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so it's again, this is the other side of the coin that people don't get. I mean, you're doing what you're doing and you're a professional racing driver, but it's my job. Yeah, and the pressures of the job is there's always somebody in pit lane waiting to take your job. Yeah, I got back in a race car way too early because I was only out of it for 7 weeks. I'd had a clot in the brain, which I didn't know about until I arrived back in England and was actually in Addenbrooke's in Cambridge. And when I got off the plane, got taken directly by my dad and late dad then to the hospital. And I had a number of injuries, but if I didn't get back in the car, I was going to lose my drive because someone else was going to take grips of it.
It's the old Patrick Head thing, isn't it? Light bulbs, isn't it?
It's commercial pressures, and again, because I had a family and that's where we were and needed to do what we needed to do. So, was it the smartest thing in the world? No. Was it the right thing to do for what I had to do? Yes. If I was in a position of having the comfort fiscally of knowing that, I can take another 4 weeks away without losing my drive, I would have done it. But I didn't have that level of comfort.
Yeah, 2002, I've got it down here, as you joined ITV for the Formula One season. And I just wanted to ask you whether it felt a bit strange to be in the Formula One circuit, but not actually driving. You're talking to everybody, I guess, and wondering, you're part of this kind of thing going around the world.
Enough, probably.
But you're not actually kind of, they must feel a bit strange.
So I enjoyed doing the television. I'm not Martin Blundell, and Martin for me is fantastic because he's very eloquent, he's got a great vocabulary, he's good at putting things together. I'm from a different side of the tracks, so my vocabulary is pretty small, right? And I try and explain it in layman's terms, which is probably why I got on with engineers because I was just very, this is what he's doing, But, live television is great because it keeps you on your toes, but once it's been delivered, you can't get it back. So we can't do what we want to do here and edit. So you guys make me look good. You can't do it at live TV. But we enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than anything because me and Martin are very close in terms of being mates So we had a great laugh.
Because you had a day with the Williams Toyota, didn't you, with him?
Yeah, we've done loads of different things. And,
was it nice to?
Yeah, it was. We had some great things that we did, and it was, and the ITV guys, you know, North One Productions was doing it. Great people.
Because I think they do the touring cars now, don't they?
Yeah. So they're good, you know, good bunch of people, but it wasn't back then what it is today. So you know, it didn't have a 24/7 F1 channel dedicated. You know, it was quite a different sort of thing, but we enjoyed it. I'm still, you know, I'm pretty sure Martin will still say there's some great days in terms of his TV career, even because it was good. We won BAFTA award as a team, so no, it was good stuff. But the television opportunity was delivered, and it was no different in me trying to make a choice. Yeah. If I can't do what I want to do at the level I want to do it, then I'll do something else. Yeah.
Touring cars.
Touring cars.
How did that come about? Someone asked you to do it? Or?
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
And again, it was a situation that arose. Commercial partners said, like, we'd back you, but you've got to do it.
It looked the nuts.
Yeah, no, great. I had some great partners. Yeah.
But it was a hard car, wasn't it?
Well, it was never supposed to be that car.
No.
I was supposed to be in the Subaru.
Really?
I was supposed to be in a rear-wheel drive Subaru.
No,
that was a deal that we were going to do.
No.
And during the Christmas and New Year period, the Subaru team were in some issues that had become apparent, and I wasn't in a position where I could walk in a big blue chip partner and put them into this situation. It was very hurtful for me because it took away from me a fundamental baseline of me knowing I had a rear-wheel drive car. And then what it did,
so sorry for
it put us on our back foot because options are really limited in terms of putting it. So I had the commercial partner. I then didn't have a car, didn't have a team.
Because the Audi was probably at its maximum development. It couldn't go any further. He couldn't do with it.
No, but it would have just been a good baseline for me because at least I wouldn't have had to try to understand doing front-wheel drive, you know, and as I've always said, I couldn't get.
I mean, was it constant? You know, you set it up. Was it constant every lap, or did it change each corner? I know 19, it changed every corner.
Just couldn't get my head around. I couldn't build any confidence. Couldn't get my head around driving it. My style of driving doesn't suit front-wheel drive. You know, when you apply a throttling stages in a front-wheel drive car, all you do is this. And it just didn't work. You know, I could see it as plain as day, sitting alongside Jake. You know, so Jake Hill is with us on our side now. He's a great driver, and I could see it. And like, I can't do that. I'm too long in the tooth. My brain and my right foot.
It's muscle memory.
They're wired differently. I don't left foot brake. No. I learned to left foot brake on the ovals in America. Never did it before. Everything that could have gone did go. But of course, I came in with being a Formula One guy and everything else. So, and actually, if you look back historically,
at first race,
but actually, most F1 guys that have come and done it have never done any good.
No, I haven't.
Most of them, I don't know any of them who really have done any good.
Not really. I mean, Nigel come close a couple of times, a couple of bits, but that was more luck with him, really.
Well, but
to be fair.
I think all of us have probably turned around and go. I mean, a load of my guys rung me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm doing it for several reasons." But I committed, and now I've got to go through with it. But what I committed to is now changed.
Knock Hill, you were good at Knock Hill. It was good at Knock Hill.
Yeah, there was. I mean, we had a few. We had a few outings that were okay, but
so in the last round at Brands Hatch, I think you were unlucky changing the tyres when you did. If you'd kept them tyres on, it would probably been. Because we could see from the stands that the weather wasn't going to do what everyone was thinking it was going to do.
It was like I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
To a point, and then there was a point in me like, I'd really like to get out of this because, But also, I was doing my day job, you know. So we run our agency. We've got a lot going on.
Is that the main reason?
But I got blamed, didn't I, for the bad performance at the end of the season. Because I came up to you in the pit lane and I shook your hand and said, "Shake your hand for luck," and then you didn't do very well, and I got the blame for that. I got the "don't go near that guy ever again."
Yeah, just leave him alone.
Well, I wouldn't take that to your grave. I don't think you did. So
no, Mikey, that's your fault.
It's all my fault.
I'm pretty sure it was destined to be the same result. So
but the partners, what a company. I mean, if drivers, if we'd got something like this when I was my age, it's just unreal. I mean, You got, you know, Theo and all the boys and Mr. Fennick. I mean,
yeah, we've got really good guys with us, so we're lucky in that respect.
Yeah.
I mean, but the whole thing's driven off the back of actually myself and Martin Blundell.
Yeah.
Because we were both.
Because he went on.
Yeah, we were on the BRDC, on the board of the BRDC. So we kept looking at all these young drivers and going, right, they've got this funding, now they need to go and spend it wisely and try and make.
Because it's easily taken off you. I had loads of money taken off of me.
So that's basically what we set it up for.
Yeah.
And then Martin then really focused more on his television and also his son Alex.
Yeah.
And I got to a point of going, right, I want to be with like-minded people.
Yeah.
And someone who's got passion to drive us, and Theo and Ian joined us, Robin.
All connections. And makes it work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate, and we've got some great guys. Yeah, I mean, Mike Conway, Gary Paffett have been with me now 17 years.
Yeah, fair bloke. Yeah.
Tom Blomqvist. Yeah, we got a youngster at the minute, Kanate Lee's 14.
And you've got Japanese as well.
Yeah. I mean, we've got Esme doing what she's doing. We've got Charlie Martin.
She did as well in the first race at that circuit. I mean, bloody hell, man.
It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work because things have changed. The dynamics of motorsport's changed. The dynamics of young people today.
All media as well now, isn't it?
It's different.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah. I'm 55, nearly 56, and I look back and I'm like, what I did when I started and what they're doing now.
Yeah.
There is a foundation that you still have to apply, but there's also an understanding that they don't quite get it because they're used to a world that's quite different. Exactly, yeah. And I look at it and go like, well, I get that because we're involved in it, but the most important part is going around in circles, and that still has to be the basics, Your profile is not going to drive your results. You still got to deliver on the circuit, and that's really the be all and end all of it. Yeah.
It just goes without saying now that we're extremely grateful.
Oh, I've got one thing.
Oh, have you got one
Mark Blundell Racing Driver School. We need one of them. So people can come up for a week, spend a week there, like the old Jim Russell days.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Possibility or not? Don't think that's needed now, or?
I don't know whether it is
Can you see yourself Donington Park with your name over it?
I don't know. I've been asked to do lots of things like that over the years. The same as I've been asked to do a book like 6 times now, and I still haven't done it. And
you're not old enough yet, ain't done it.
Well, I think I am, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll see. We've got the name over the garage in the touring car pit lane, so we'll see whether that grows and morphs into something else.
And he's going to do bloody well.
I hope so.
He is.
Touch wood.
Yeah, he's bloody good. He's a nice man as well.
He is a good guy. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us take your time up today and talking to you.
I've got hundreds of things I want to ask you. Pick your brains.
And apologies, you had to come up 2 flights of stairs, but there you go. Sorry.
That's all right for him. It's not for me. I've got to try and lose all this by April. How the hell am I going to do that? I don't know.
Join the club. So.